Hi, and welcome to Mental Health Awareness Week. My name is Dr. Ben Sinclair, and I'm joined today by my friend Dani Grieveson. Dani, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hello. My name is Dani. Thanks, Ben, so much. I run a company called Lift This Life. I'm all about raising people up professionally and personally. So it's essentially coaching that I do for individuals and teams.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dani. And for myself, I run a private GP practice in the city centre of Birmingham. Since the lockdown, we have been virtual, so we're offering private video consultations backed up by pharmacy delivery the next day. And our video psychology services have been increasingly busy in the last few weeks. We also do a menopause service online, which is also becoming busier as things continue to be locked down. There is some opening happening at the moment, but still I think the safest way to deal with the health at the moment is virtually. So we're in the middle of Mental Health Awareness Week, and we've been asked by Comorbid to do a little piece about how to maintain your own mental health in a time such as this, which is unprecedented. And certainly, I don't think anyone, unless they've perhaps been in conflict, has ever been through such an unusual time as this. And so I thought, first off, just to set the scene in terms of how mental health fits in with our wider health, we might just briefly pull back and discuss a model of health that we use as a clinic, which helps us understand how each area of health is connected. What we have is the health pyramid. Now, at the top of the health pyramid is spiritual well-being, and that is connected by in equal parts to other areas of your health, such as the mind or mental health area here, relationships, and the social area here, in which your connection to other people, to work, and to the environment occurs, and your routines are built. And then the body or physical area. And traditionally as doctors, we would see a lot of people presenting with physical or body problems, but as we know, all these things are connected. So a body problem, a physical problem may well give you mental health fallout, may well impact your relationships or your ability to work. And similarly, a spiritual well-being problem may have effect in every other area of health. So I just want to show that to start, just to understand that mental health is not seen in isolation, and the solutions to good mental health are not in isolation either. And so really today is really about just hoping to give you some of the tools and tips and ideas of how to keep going, because we have been in this unusual situation for so getting on for 9 or 10 weeks now, depending on when you lock down. Now, Dani, one of your special interests is strengths in times of challenge. Can you tell us a bit more about what we should be doing with our strengths right now?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm trained and certified in the science of strength psychology. So what essentially that means is, what are your natural talents? What do you naturally do best? And then what I do is I discover and deepen those strengths with each of my clients, so that they can shine them out to the wider world. So what do you naturally do best, and really develop that so that performance uplifts, productivity uplifts, and fundamentally confidence gets such a boost. And just in recent weeks, Ben, I've actually had a certain uplift in people coming to me needing their confidence really worked on through this time.
And I think I've noticed an increase in people having mental health problems, inquiries about mental health or what we can offer. The video psychology have increased recently, and I think this is dragging on. We're still in an uncertain time. I also think that there's been a quite big impact on the commercial sector and the corporate sector, with a lot of people being put on furlough, and a lot of people being told either to cut their hours or there might even be redundancies. So our hearts do go out to those people who are in those uncertain times. And I think more than ever now, we need to have a strong strategy for coping with these things. And incidentally, I have also noticed that some of my colleagues, I work in the NHS as well, and I've noticed some of my NHS colleagues who've been going at it so well, they've remained strong, but they're beginning to show signs of wear and tear and being frayed. And for me, that's a warning sign that we need to sit up and say, okay, how can we support our colleague? Because they've been serving us so well. Clapping is not going to help them. It might cheer them up, but actually, I think we need to go beyond clapping, because otherwise that might just become a little bit, sort of a bit of a plaster to cover a massive gaping wound. And I think there's a lot of this sort of psychological exhaustion going on right now, and stress as it goes on for a long time, it can really run you down.
Definitely, Ben. And there's so much noise everywhere that you look about this crisis situation. And when it all started and throughout, there have been so many people on social media or in my inbox telling me that they can sort me out and they know what to do and they're experts in crisis management, when really no one knows what's happening. No one knows what to do. But what we can do is build what's within us at this time to keep strong in our mental and physical health. But as your friends and colleagues are discovering, they're battered with their work, but battered with all of this information that's abounding, and it's so difficult in this challenging, uncertain time to just bring it back to basics and just breathe and say, right, what can I do to move forward? And I suppose that's where you and I come in.
Absolutely. And I think, the big thing that I would say that I keep coming back to, and I've tried to apply to myself, because I have been up and down in this uncertainty as well, and I think the biggest thing that I think holds it together for me is routine, but not just any routine, but a sort of a mindful routine that has kind of key elements to it. Would you agree with that, Dani?
Definitely, Ben. And for me, what I'm coaching people on is certainly their routine, but also that routine, not in terms of a timetable or schedule, that these are out, but what positive habits are part of your routine. And that's what I'm coaching people on a lot.
No, definitely. And I think when I say routine, I don't mean a timetable, because actually we just had an interruption during this and I had to make an unscheduled visit to my son's room to help him make some Lego, because actually things are happening outside of a normal timetable. It gives us an understanding of actually that control is an illusion as well, I think. And that so you can't be too tight with the timetable, but it's the key foundational sort of touchstones that we need that actually will sustain us. One of those things for me has been doing yoga. I've loved doing yoga every morning in the garden in the sunshine, and when the sun hits a certain spot of my garden, I've pretty much been out there most days, and I've got a lot stronger as a result, which has been great. I confess I have gained some COVID pounds, through lack of running to work, but actually I think the yoga, I've actually got stronger with it.
So pleased to hear that, Ben. So pleased. But yeah, I must echo that. My jeans have definitely got tighter in this season. Yeah. Definitely.
I think it's funny because I saw a post from an Italian who they've been through this before, and a lot of it did center around eating, and you will eat, you will gain weight. And I thought, oh, that's just Italians. But then I did the same thing. So what's been hard for me is the sort of healthy eating. I find actually easier when I'm at work, because my eating is controlled by access, and whereas I have access to everything at home, including the kids' treats, which is not helpful to me. So actually, I think that's part of the reason I've gained weight, is that I've been snacking on the kids' stuff when I've been bored.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but I think we also need to be mindful, of course. I know you are, Ben, that our food can actually create or destruct our mentality. So too much junk food, too much processed food is not going to make us feel great. And what is it that we're indulging in? And what is it that you like? as well. You know, if you like avocados, try a new avocado recipe. If you love figs, well, what else can you make with figs? Or if you love bread, have you tried making bread? I've seen so many people trying sourdough or brioche buns in their house, just making these things, and that feels good to create something new. It does feel good in this.
And that creativity to food, actually, we have a little bit more time because we are maybe not commuting, and we have more time, and there's no excuse not to try making a new salad. Or I love making salads, and I just, I kind of put loads of different stuff in, and depending on what we've had available, I've started growing some herbs in the garden. That's been really therapeutic. My rocket is really taking off like a rocket, and it's great. When the kids have planted it, they're seeing stuff grow, and they're eating their own produce, which is lovely to see, and really nutritious. So you touched on there, sort of, we need to be mindful of our excesses. I'm quite aware that alcohol has come up the charts for quite a few people as an accessible substance in the home. Now, for some people, I think they used to drink heavily as part of their work culture. For them, it's got easier, and they're drinking less. For people who maybe perhaps drank more socially at home, I think it may have got harder. And I'm certainly quite worried about the alcohol messages that are coming through with a lot of social posts and things, or joking about alcohol. I mean, joking aside, I think it probably has been quite a challenge for some people. Alcohol is a really dangerous substance that can cause massive mood changes, behavior changes. Obviously, there's lots of calories. It's totally not nutritious. And I'm not anti-alcohol. I like a good single malt and a good IPA, like the rest of us. I'm actually allergic to red wine, sadly, so I can't enjoy red wine anymore. But I think I've certainly been noting on Facebook quite a few people sort of perhaps been talking about alcohol more in a tongue-in-cheek way, but then I think the truth is often said in jest. Have you seen a similar effect, Dani?
Definitely, Ben, definitely. And I've seen stag do's happening on Zoom. I've seen an uplift in alcoholism. And hey, look, I'm not here to tell anyone not to or to do something. That's not my way. But I think it's something that does need to be kept in check. And if you're finding that it's affecting your energy and your mentality, then it certainly does need addressing.
Yeah, and actually, I think initially I probably did drink more because I felt like I was on holiday, and I often do have a glass of wine or have a beer when I'm on holiday because I'm like, yeah, I can drink, and I'm nothing to get up for, whereas actually you can't carry on like that. So I have to get myself in check and sort of limit it a bit more, buy smaller bottles and have more limited cans or something like that to help meter out your sort of your enjoyment, rather than just having the excess of the thing because it's available.
But one thing that's interesting, actually, in terms of making recipes and you finding new recipes, I saw in the Telegraph this weekend that home brewing kits sales have gone up. Yeah. People are brewing at home, which is a delight and creative. But yeah, I just reiterate, if it's affecting people's mentality and ability to cope and do in life, then yeah, of course it needs monitoring and measuring properly.
Definitely, and I think if that is something, then please get in touch. As a GP, we work with a lot of different things that can affect mental health, substances being one of them. Certainly, I think there may be a bit of a change in people's other substance use. I know a lot of people might have had the occasional recreational substance use, but I think opportunity probably has reduced that a fair bit, and you probably be quite determined or addicted to actually get to a substance in lockdown. So that might have been a little bit less of a problem. But again, if that is an issue, happy to speak to people about that, because it's our bread and butter as GPs who are aware that these things are common. So we've talked about some excesses, some pitfalls, perhaps challenges of maintaining our self-control, our self-awareness. I think something that might help us with that is being more mindful. And I've noticed an increase in people being more aware of nature, which I think has been a lovely byproduct of this, alongside less pollution. Have you seen that happening, Dani?
Definitely, 100%. And I think people, particularly living in urban environments, and I know that you're blessed with the countryside near you, Ben. And by the way, I'm definitely going to pop over for one of these gourmet salads when this is down.
Great.
So, but I live in an urban environment, and it's been great to find new pathways, walkways, woodland that I didn't even know about. That's on the doorstep. But certainly, the uplift in people spending time in nature is so good for us. I mean, Ben, you'll know the biology of nature and doing wonders for our soul, but it's so
Yeah.
true. And what's been beautiful, and I don't know if you've noticed this, but you can hear the birds much more clearly. They seem to be,
they're celebrating this.
they really are, they're singing. The bird song is tremendous to hear. But yes, there's definitely been pollution dialed down. It feels much cleaner air, and yeah, it's been a delight to hear the birds singing as joyfully as they have been.
And actually, there's some really good evidence that if you spend time in green spaces, your blood pressure drops. You actually can sort of improve stress levels. And if you are into this kind of thing, you can do mindful walks in the forest. There is a Japanese tradition of forest bathing, which has great evidence to boost immunity and anti-cancer and anti-obesity chemicals in your brain and in your body that are naturally produced through inhaling vaporized oils from ancient trees. So certainly recommend, if you can, now that you're allowed to, get out to some forest and get in amongst the trees, go for a walk. Take your time, because it's not just the slowing down, it's actually just the being that really helps with that. And there's a lot of evidence for that. Something else that I used to do when I was commuting was I used to try to journal my thoughts and feelings, or my sort of prime myself for the day on the train, because I used to run through the forest. I live near the Lickey Hills Forest, so I'm blessed to have that on the doorstep. And then I hop on the train and have half an hour of sort of mindfulness and meditation and prayer on the train, which is brilliant. And there's a lot of evidence for journaling as a coping strategy that can really benefit you, particularly with an emphasis on gratitude. I don't need to tell you, Dani, about this. It's one of the sort of the strength things that Dani has been talking to me about. But certainly putting that into action really helped me to focus my mind. What do I need to do today? What's been good about the most recent while? What do I need to do next? And what I might need help with. And so I always carry my journal around wherever I go. It's good for taking notes, but also for just reflecting. And the evidence is, again, actually be far happier and contented if you focus on what you have got and why that's important to you on a regular basis. And Dani, have you got any other tips on mindfulness or on using strengths to help yourself to be more aware and make the most of your natural abilities in that way?
Well, yeah, I mean, like you just showed with your book, Ben, I'm a big fan of the pen, and I think in this time of uplift in screen time and all of us being on Zoom, webinars, this chat, this video call, let's come away. And so what I would recommend is, regardless of taking a strengths assessment or not, write down your top 5 points. What are the top 5 things about you? People watching this, you as an individual. If you don't know, ask your best friend at work, ask your mum, what are the best 5 things about me? And then write down the things that you can do today. So really claiming responsibility for what you can do, and then link what your strengths are, your top 5 points are, to those things that you can do. So I can lead that meeting. Well, I'm really good at communication. Everyone tells me I'm good at communication. So that strength is certainly going to link into me leading that meeting as an example of how you can use your strengths. But I'm a massive fan of physically claiming what we're up to each day, especially in this time of uplift in screen time. So I think make good friends with your pen again would be my first thought.
I love that. And actually, my writing has been so destroyed as a doctor that I can only write with a fountain pen now. So I just wouldn't be without it. And pen to paper, and it's a nice experience when you have a journal that you sort of everything's in there. It's emotionally kind of I think it helps you to feel those positive vibes when you're writing stuff down. It's kind of like a friend, which can really help you to process stuff. So I think, yeah, fantastic thought, and I love the actual pen to paper is a winner for me. I think something else on the we mentioned exercise very briefly. I've talked about yoga. I think as part of a routine, one of the foundations of your health, we looked at the model earlier. Physical health is a very important part of your mental health. We know that endorphins, natural sort of calming feel-good chemicals, are released when we exercise, both when we do meditative exercise like yoga or Pilates, and also high intensity exercise. It's funny because I've craved the high intensity I used to get when I did my sort of burst of running through the forest every day. And I kind of get these exercise pangs, and I kind of once or twice a week I just get my running shoes on and I just got to bolt out of the door. Do you feel the same thing with high intensity? I know you're a yoga trainer, aren't you? So how is it for you?
I love yoga, but yeah, I'm definitely craving some just sweating. But no better. No, I really am. But I've had 3 knee operations, so running and me aren't best friends. But I really am craving that high intensity. Have I done it quite yet? No, I haven't. I need to get into it. But I know the benefits, and as you know, I practice and teach yoga as a bit of a side hustle.
Brilliant. And I think other forms of sort of stretching meditative exercise are available. So Pilates for one, and also things like Tai Chi, which actually bring in mindful movement. I found surprisingly energetic and also relaxing when I tried it, and I'd love to do more of that. It's just a really simple way of moving. It's amazing. Very
much. I'm a real advocate of anything that calms or makes us feel better, that's good for us. And so I've also been encouraging friends and friends and not so much clients, but also to have fun with your exercise. Yes, we're adults, but there's nothing stopping you doing a cartwheel in your garden, or at least trying a cartwheel. Why not have some fun in this time?
Exactly. Well, if you do a headstand and fall over, no one will hear you, so it just doesn't matter, or see you. I jogged. I ran up 3K just running after the kids on their bikes this morning, and they were just learning how to ride their bikes on the pavement. So I just got my shoes on, and it was brilliant, and they loved it too. So it's a win-win. I think if you're doing exercise socially distanced with someone else, because you're not allowed to, you can go for a socially distanced bike ride. You can play tennis, but apparently you're supposed to serve with your own equipment, and you're not allowed to use anyone else's tennis balls, which is kind of, I don't quite know how that works. But I guess if you're, I'm sure you can work that out anyway. But so a ready supply. What about social? I think looking at the social area, I think this is the area we've really had crunch time, and I think this coming towards the workplace, coming towards Mental Health Awareness Week for busy working people. The social area, I think, has been so vastly impacted by this, in some good ways and in some not so good ways. Dani, what's your thinking on how to survive socially at a time like this?
Well, I think we are social beings. I mean, as Brené Brown, who everybody seems to know at the moment, she's amazing. If you don't know her, look her up. She says, we're hardwired for connection. We need connection. And Ben, you can say from a biological point of view, but we need it. We need to be social. We need to be social. So, what I would encourage is, be social, connect. It is connection in a different way. Make that video call. How about that friend that you were great friends with at school, that life has happened and they've moved away? What's stopping you video calling them just out of the blue at 3:00 on Thursday? Nothing. So reach out, connect, fulfill that criteria that we're hardwired for, that connection. So I definitely think reach out. I don't think this is a time yes, it is a time of isolation, but it's not a time for us to socially isolate as well. I think we've got to break that and just reach out and connect.
I definitely think so. And actually I've reconnected, just like you say, with my old doctor study group that I used to go to. So we all now Zoom, which is great because actually everyone's on there, and we keep up with CPD. We also ask each other questions about stuff and check in with each other make sure we're doing okay. And you know, some of my my employees and colleagues, we've also been connecting on Zoom just to kind of make sure that we're all ticking over. And actually, our church has taken to YouTube, and it's quite relaxing just having a coffee, sat on your own sofa, you know, and then you're able to tweet on Twitter or Instagram, and you know, and discuss stuff afterwards, which is it's kind of a new way of doing community I never thought would happen, but has been necessitated by the current lockdown. I guess it brings me on to spiritual coping, because I think at a time like this, our real core beliefs and values are challenged and potentially threatened, and they're either I think sort of proved, or you know, they can take a pounding, and I think it's really important to know or to look into what your belief system is at a time when death is all around us. And just to say, a lot of us may have experienced the loss of a loved one, and that this is surprisingly common, or a near miss. And actually, that's often just as bad, because it leaves a what if, a fear of, you know, what if I did get it again, or what if they got it again, or how can we protect them again? And so I think knowing your spiritual beliefs is a really important thing to look into at this time, and to know what you think about you know, what happens beyond death, or what's the meaning of death, and what's our lives, you know, really worth and a focus on, and what's important to you, because we've only got one life, and we have to make sure that we're going to do the most with it. I lost my grandma early on in this COVID crisis, a couple of weeks in, and she was quite old, so it wasn't unexpected that she might be sort of taken home, but there's still a bit of a shock. And some of my friends have, one of them lost a parent, so you know, it's a common thing at the moment with the current death stats. So I think I'd say look into your belief system, because it's a very powerful thing. If you do know what you believe, it can be a real sustaining strength at a time like this of uncertainty. Dealing with uncertainty, final thought, Dani. We're winding up here, but what's your final thought on how to deal with uncertainty? Let's say in a sort of a short term and a mid-term way. Big question, but let's have a really potted answer for that if we can.
Well, dealing with uncertainty is traumatic. There's no other two ways about it. You know, no doubt we're in economic uncertainty, job uncertainty, family uncertainty, death uncertainty. So really, the focus needs to be on what can you, as an individual, be certain about right now.
Yeah.
So at the moment, we've got every day. So what can you do each day? What can you do? And if that is, I can go for a walk, I can speak to my boss, I can reach out to an old friend. Do those things that make you positive about what you can pragmatically do. So do those things. Create certainty within yourself in this uncertain time.
I love that, and I love the emphasis on positive action. It's what you can do rather than worrying about what you can't, because that's something that we can own and do something with. So that's fantastic. And I also think just to say, if you feel that you are drifting, or you feel like you're really hitting rock bottom, or you feel like your mental health has gone out of control, there are lots of resources out there. There's a lot of self-help that you could find on things like NHS Choices. If you need to have a consultation with a GP, I'm available. My female colleague is available to do video consultations, and we specialise in helping people with beginning to understand and come to terms with it, and help themselves with mental health problems. And we're supported by a video psychologist who can go a bit deeper if necessary. So do get in touch. It's www.optimisehealthclinic.co.uk is our website. You can have a look there. There are articles, and you can connect with us through the website, or book through the website. Dani, how would we get hold of you if we needed to do some of this strength coaching, business coaching?
So just reach out. I'm at Lift This Life, LIFT, because I'm all about raising things up, liftThisLife.co.uk, and it'd be lovely to connect.
Fantastic. So it's Mental Health Awareness Week. Let's try and focus on the positive action that we can take. Dani, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks.
I hope you have a fantastic week. Take care, everybody.
You too.